Dirt Trax is sponsored by Can-Am, the ride says it all. Polaris, the world leader in off-road innovation. And by Yamaha, conquer outdoors.
One of the best parts about doing what I do for a living is all the cool places I get to go, places I get to go to ride ATVs and side-by-sides and experience different things. I've never been anywhere quite this exotic. We really wanted to do a trip to show up every other trip we've ever done.
At Dirt Trax, we always want to do something exciting. I mean, when we go on trips, we want it to be a huge adventure, something unique, very different. And for this trip, we definitely have all of that and a whole bunch more. We're going to Costa Rica, and Luke and I were just, I mean, to say we were excited would be an understatement.
I've never been this far south in any way. So the flight was interesting. We left from home in Toronto and flew into Houston, then flew from Houston right into San Jose in Costa Rica. When we landed, our first night was going to be staying at a Holiday Inn, which was like any other Holiday Inn I've ever stayed at. It was very nice, right kind of downtown San Jose, which was interesting.
For this trip, we'd be hooking up with Moto Adventures, and they're a supplier of motorcycle side-by-side adventures here in Costa Rica. They offer a whole bunch of different packages and plans and different places that you can go. To start our adventure off, we were going to go to the local Polaris dealership, which when I say local, I mean local to the country. This is the only Polaris dealership in all of Costa Rica.
One dealer for 4.5 million people, and that's where we were going to meet up with Larry, who was our guide, our host, and was going to be taking us on this adventure.
I got into off-road riding touring after riding in various countries, South America, Central America, the USA, and in Europe. After all my travels, I was seeing that many places have restrictions of places to ride, and in this country there is no restriction. All these trails are public roads. So I think there was a need for places to go vacationing.
So we met up with him there at the dealership. We got hooked up with our RZRs. We had a RZR 900 XP, we had a RZR 900S, and a RZR XP 1000. So we had a good mix of really good vehicles.
We had a great reception, and then the vehicles were right up front. All the RZRs were prepped and ready to go, and we loaded up our bags, put our helmets and gear on, and we were on our way.
I think one of the really unique things about being here in Costa Rica is that side-by-sides are pretty much legal anywhere but the highways. We left from the dealership and rode through the middle of town, basically on paved roads, passing cars and motorcycles and passing cows and all kinds of crazy stuff until we started climbing.
So we're climbing up out of Escazú, headed into the mountains, and you go from very heavy, dense city to kind of more hillside, some apartments and homes, and then the pavement starts to end, you get into some dirt roads and you start climbing even steeper. We made it up to the top of the mountain, and of course we had our first initial sort of just little detour. There was a tree that had fallen across the road and hadn't been removed.
It looked like some of the locals had maybe tried to cut through the tree to remove it, but we learned later on that people here aren't really used to cutting down trees, so they didn't really know how to get the tree out of the way. It looks like we found a way through this fence here and we can bypass the fallen tree. I guess the guys know the owner of this property on the other side of the fence, so he's going to let us go through and take a bypass. So, problem arisen, problem solved. It was like kind of an anticlimactic beginning to the trip because we're all ready to pump to go out on this trail and we have to stop and solve a problem. But we solved it and we made it.
They call those driveways. I think we call those double black diamond. That's crazy. Climbing up into the mountains was very interesting here. I mean, the scenery is so beautiful, and every time the trees break, you have just an amazing view. There's nowhere else that I have ever been in my life that looks like this. I mean, it is literally a tropical playground.
Dirt Trax is sponsored by Princess Auto, a unique world of equipment, tools, and more.
Larry really likes to take people who are capable to really technical spots, and I think he likes to test people and see just how good a technical rider they actually are. first spot he was really excited to take us to was, honestly, between AJ and I, we both agreed, it was one of the gnarliest washout sections I've ever ridden on before.
It had been washed out by rain, heavy, heavy rain. So you have small towers of dirt that you could stagger your tires on, and then in some places it would fall off, 3, 4, 5 feet in between. So you could really get stuck pretty good and lose the side-by-side, in one of these holes. It was pretty technical. We went all the way down and made it to the bottom without too much problem, but then as typical with dirt tracks, our camera guys are always one more time. And so we had to drive back up, and on the way back up, we all kind of got a little dislodged and fell into some of the holes, but Larry had an issue with a drive shaft and broke one clean in half.
Right. See, this is the thing about TV. You can successfully traverse a section of really gnarly trail and feel good about yourself, and then your camera guy says, okay, now do it again. And that's always when something goes wrong. AJ and I can get through it the first time fine. It's when the camera guy says do it again that stuff breaks. We weren't even gonna film this part of the run. It was just going back up so we could turn around and get a shot coming back down. So this was actually not even something we were gonna shoot, but it was fun to do. After we got everybody turned around, after the first gnarly downhill section, Larry says, oh, that was the easy part. I'm like, what are you talking about? That was brutal.
So then we turn around and continue the downhill. It gets worse, bigger holes. And without traction on the right wheel on the front, it was kind of hard to go through those big holes and be in the middle of the big route. But we worked it out, pointing the right direction, put the wheels, and it worked out good.
Finally, when we did make it to the bottom, we stopped, were able to assess the drive shaft that was broken, remove the parts that needed to be removed, get the front wheel off, and sort of engineer the front end so the tire would stay on for the rest of the day, and continue on our way.
What I like about Costa Rica is like a big playground. It has trails everywhere. The people are very friendly and they welcome you and like you when you go through little villages and stuff. So it's a really great place to go ride and have a vacation.
I really enjoyed this section of riding on these trails because the trail itself was a little less technical, which gave you the opportunity to enjoy the views that you were experiencing. And we got to see a lot of countryside really fast. We got to see a lot of countryside through the views and the vistas we were seeing. We could see so far away, but it was just spectacular, the whole ride. We were climbing a lot and descending a lot, and that seems to be the way these trails are. You're either going up or you're going down. You're almost never just going flat. So we climbed and descended a ton.
We stopped for lunch in a small town. It was a farming town. Very, very different than what you expect. But here in Costa Rica, when you're driving through the mountains, there's just small populations and small towns in the most remote areas.
And now we're here at this little restaurant on the side of the road, having some chicken fajitas. And I think we're all just about ready for it. I'm starving.
After 4 hours of riding, it's good to refuel yourself on the side-by-sides. The food is good. It's very like local and homemade kind of food. And they treat us very well and we like it a lot.
After lunch, we had some less technical riding to do. Larry wanted to show us some of the trails that were a little smoother, a little faster.
The afternoon was amazing. We saw even greater beauty in the mountains of Costa Rica. It just continued to impress us. We were on hillsides where there's cows grazing. I mean, it's steeper than you would ever want to walk up.
And I have to say, coming away from this trip, if there's one thing I'm going to remember, it's going to be the views. I mean, there was scenery like nobody has ever seen before up here, and it was endless.
The kind of trails and diversity are lots of mountains. Some are challenging, and we go up and down all day. It's go mountain up, go down, lots of river crossings, and we go through little villages, up in the mountains, and we have great scenery along the way.
Our final destination for day one was going to be Colinas Alta Vista, which is a resort at the top of a mountain that overlooks the entire city of San Jose. And to say that it was impressive would be an understatement. During the day it's beautiful, but at night when the lights come on and you see the entire city lit up, you really can't put words to it.
Day one of this trip was awesome. Everything went better than expected, but we had a lot more riding to do, and AJ and I both were just super pumped about what day 2 and 3 of this trip were going to bring. And we enjoyed the views up on the top of this mountain, but we wanted to get to bed so we could wake up and ride another day.
Dirt Trax is brought to you by MBRP Performance Exhaust, lightweight performance.
Day one of our adventure in Costa Rica had been full of awesome experiences, great trails, incredible vistas, amazing people, just an all-encompassing great experience. We'd ended our day one at Colinas Alta Vista, which was a cool place up on a mountaintop overlooking the city of San Jose. Day two was going to be a biggie. We traveled 70 kilometers on day one. Day two was going to be approximately 130 to 150 in one day through the mountains of Costa Rica.
So we woke up at Colinas Alta Vista with this great view and with a good night's sleep behind us. And while we would have liked to stay there and see the scenery even more, we knew that there was more great riding happening. So it was time to gear up, put our helmets on, and get back on the dusty trail.
We use Polaris vehicles because I think the performance is great, lots of stability, great suspension. You can have fun riding them fast. And they're safe. You can get sideways, and it won't tip over. It's very stable. And the dealership here is one dealership, and they have been very helpful with everything, with parts. We started a tour from their office in Escazú, and we also finished the tour there, and we have a good relationship, and we love the Polaris side-by-side.
Day two was going to be an epic day. I mean, we literally were going to do over twice the mileage that we did on day one. So we had a lot of ground to cover.
When we left Colinas Alta Vista, we traveled through some small towns to get out to the more remote type trails. And people here are so awesome. I've been so many places where when you're riding through towns and villages, you're given the stink eye everywhere you go, and they don't like that you're there, they don't like the dust, they don't like the noise. They're just basically, they don't like you because you're on a side-by-side or an ATV. Here, it's the complete opposite. I've never experienced this before. Everybody in every town was pumped that we were there. They loved looking at the vehicles we were driving. The kids are giving a thumbs up. There was even one little kid who came out on the road and was holding his hand out so AJ and I could give him a high five. Our trail out of Colinas Alta Vista to get to the other main trails took us through a really interesting kind of pine forest that was being harvested. And they'd had a bunch of them that had fallen down on the trail, and there was no chance of getting them moved, so we had to just power through them.
Larry had gone through some downed trees. One of them got stuck in the rear drive shaft and popped the outside universal and just exploded it. So we had a bit of a problem there. We ended up going back to a small town that we had stopped for lunch the day before and found a little garage there where people were able to help us. We got a pump jack, lifted it up, took the rear wheel off, and the whole hub assembly.
We're just checking to see if the front drive shaft on this will fit on the back, in which case we can just swap the good front drive shaft to the back and he'll have two-wheel drive. No?
Larry had to pack up, put the Razor in the truck that was helping with fuel, and drive it back to San Jose. But because we had Lewis running sweep for us, it was great. I mean, Lewis just jumped in, took point, and was going to lead us for the rest of the day.
I'm here to support the client, just in case something happens, or for some reason the abilities of the riders are different, so we can split and we can take one hard road and an easy one, just in case. If something or a mechanical problem happens, I can be also a support and guide you guys to our destination.
We traveled some very diverse trails in the afternoon on day 2. Everything from paved roads to dirt roads, smooth dirt roads, rough dirt roads, gravel roads. We traveled on what I would call a cow path, which is literally like a path for cows, but we're riding ATVs on it, and they were so tight and technical. It was just awesome. Some of the places we were riding along the edge of cliffs that when you looked over the edge of the cliff, it was hundreds, maybe 1,000 feet down. It was crazy, straight down to the ground. That's like steel material. Hey! Make sure you tune in to Dirt Trax TV next week for part 2 of our Costa Rica adventure.
Closed captioning of Dirt Trax is sponsored by Triton Trailer, built for adventure.
Can-Am's Commander has been around for quite a while, and anyone who likes the idea of a true sport utility side-by-side has a lot to thank it for. Until the Commander was introduced by BRP, we had dedicated sport vehicles, dedicated utility vehicles, and we had utility vehicles that could be ridden on the trail, but were far from sporty. BRP recognized that sometimes we need more justification for owning a side-by-side than just, it's fun, but we want more than just a side-by-side that can work. The formula for the Commander was fairly simple. Build a vehicle that's comfortable, handles well, rides well, and is fast, but can also haul and tow. It's a formula that worked back then and continues to work today. The Commander we have here is the XTP model with Can-Am's ultra-impressive 85 horsepower 976cc V-twin power plant under the hood. Can-Am offers the Commander in a long list of flavors, and there really is something for everyone. But after looking at the cost versus performance equation for each, we think the 1000 XTP offers the best mix of comfort, performance, and usefulness for the best price. From the very second you fire up this ginormous 1-liter V-twin, you know it means business. Heck, the sound alone is enough to make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. But the truth doesn't fully sink in until you hit the throttle. At this point, things start happening very quickly. BRP tends to clutch their big V-twins very aggressively, and they tend to engage pretty hard when you first jump on the gas. If you're riding hard and want immediate corner-to-corner speed, this is good. But if you're trying to be smooth, maybe pulling something slowly or hauling a big load, or even just picking through a rough trail, this jumpy engagement can and does get annoying fast. The XTP is suspended on a set of dual A-arms up front and Can-Am's own TTI trailing arms in the rear. All 4 corners yield 10 inches of travel, and all 4 are damped by a set of Fox Podium 2.0 QS3 shocks. Everyone here at Dirt Trax firmly believes these are among the very best shock absorbers on the market for 2 very good reasons. First, they're super high quality and they work excellent. But most importantly, second, the 3-position compression adjustment knob that makes these shocks unique is incredibly easy to use and incredibly effective. Gone are the days where you have to guess at your shock settings or keep track of 30 clicks of compression. The QS3s have 3 settings: soft, medium, and firm. Each is immediately noticeable and makes a huge difference. While suspension travel is good, the shock package is excellent, and the front of the XTP rides great, the rear tends to pogo on hard hits when you're pushing the vehicle on trails. And it's not just on big hits, it happens a lot. In our opinion, the fix for this is easy. The TTA rear suspension from Can-Am's Pure Sport Maverick works great in all conditions, and it would completely solve the rear end ride issues the Commander suffers from. The cargo box in the Commander functions really well. One-hand tailgates, smooth, almost effortless dumping mechanism, 600-pound capacity. It's a nice setup, but what makes it truly unique is its double-level design. While this is a great feature, it might not be useful for everyone. However, if you're a person who likes to haul larger items, let's say equipment, firewood, or bales of hay, it's great, because you can load the top compartment up with your larger items and then still have room in the bottom for your tools and gear. The interior of the Commander XTP is everything you'd expect from a Can-Am. It's clean and impeccably finished, it's comfortable and adjustable. Our only gripe is that the seating position is too vertical, but we've griped about that before, so we'll just leave it alone today. For the extra money you'll have to shell out to move from the XT to the XTP package Commander, we really feel like you're getting a lot more than you're paying for. The XTP obviously includes all the standard Commander features like Tri-Mode DPS, digital security system, projector headlights, shiftable 4x4 and Visco lock front diff. And it includes things from the XT package like the winch and mud guards, but it also gets 12-inch beadlock wheels, rock sliders, and of course, the excellent Fox QS3 shocks. We think the XTP package offers an excellent mix of sport and utility features and capabilities at a more than reasonable price. But at the end of the day, we all have to accept that while this is a great sport utility side-by-side, it's currently being overshadowed by newcomers to this class. And this isn't something we think Can-Am's going to accept for very long. It would be reasonable to expect to see a new Commander introduced very soon. Until then, we can only speculate on what it might look like.
Dirt Trax Television has been sponsored by Polaris, the world leader in off-road innovation, Can-Am, the ride says it all, and by Arctic Cat. Share our passion.
If you've enjoyed this video, please subscribe to Dirt Trax TV's YouTube channel so you never miss another update.